Hello, Wommet. Welcome to Isekai Realms here on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel. I am Eric Scott to be playing Elric Thalavar, aspiring slash actual paladin, assuming this training thing actually works out. Sworn to protect his friends as well as a young Gedrin Shadowbane, who is a character from one of my books. And apparently I was the one who inspired him. So here we go. Take it away, Allie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alexander Pitchford. I am a writer, game designer, and TTRPG streamer. I am working on a few interesting projects right now, but today I am playing Amara Valerian, aka me, but in elf form. And I'd like to tell you about one of our sponsors, which is, as ever, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Idle Champions is a strategy game that unites iconic Dungeons and Dragons characters from novels, campaigns, and popular shows into one epic adventure, including Farida, Havilar, and Mahen from the Brimstone Angels novels. The game is available for PC and Mac on Steam and Web, Epic Game Store, Google Play, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, iPad, iPhone, and on all Android devices. For more information, check out idlechampions.com.
Hey, I'm Rhiannon Held. I write urban fantasy as Rhiannon Held and space opera is RZ Held. I have two dice partners to tell you about. Norse Foundry specializes in metal dice. When you roll them, it feels like you're skillfully smashing the rigid armor of the monster horde. You can find their dice and accessories at norsefoundry.com. Phoenix Dice is named for the creature that rises from the ashes because they use all recycled materials. You can find their dice and accessories at phoenixdice.com.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joel Everett. I'm usually one of your mods under the handle Rumpus Imperator, posting silly polls in the chat. But tonight I am playing myself, transformed into a dwarf by a family curse.
Hi, I'm Cumberbatch Bottom Little, and tonight I will be playing Randy Henderson. I'm sorry he's not here again, but hopefully I can cover him. And apparently he's an author. Wrote some like Fin Fancy Necromancy or something, and some other humorous urban fantasy stuff. So you should probably check that out. But yeah, and you're Chris, right?
Yes, I am Mr. Bottom Little.
To you, sir.
Very good. Thank you. And I am Chris, aka Chris the Grey, your dungeon master for the evening. And when last we left our heroes, a long time ago, or not that long ago, depending upon your perspective, they had reluctantly agreed to be transported into what had been described as either a dreamscape or a demi-plane outside of time by a ally of theirs, someone who was a close associate, intimate, you might say, of Joel, and who claimed to be a representative of the divine Aminator. And when the party awoke from their sleep, they found themselves in a Byzantine-style amphitheater / Colosseum in the blazing sun with sand underneath their feet. There is one thing that's different about the party as they appear in this space. And that is that, Joel, you are not in the form of a dwarf. You are in the form that you normally occupy. Allie, you're Amara.
Did my armor come with me, and does it still fit?
You have, when you think about it, armor on.
Oh, okay.
Your friend is patiently waiting for all of you to adjust to this new reality. Well met, he'll say.
Well met.
Hey, Loomis, I presume?
K. Loomis, at your service. He will bow at the waist. Now, before we go much further, there are contracts that must be signed. And he will take that book that I described last time, which is on a chain at his belt, out. Take a quill that is tucked behind his right ear out. You'll note that it will begin to glow like the light of the sun when he does that. And he will open the book and begin flipping to a particular page. Anything amongst yourselves while you're waiting for him to find the right one?
Joel didn't tell us that, right?
Is that entire book the contract?
No. Your contract is somewhere in here. It's somewhere in here. A moment.
What contract? You didn't say anything about contract.
I don't know the details of the contract myself, other than the fact that we are not to discuss this with anybody out. I'm sorry, I should have explained this before we.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we're just not supposed to tell anybody about this. Is the short version, and specifically, we can't tell any of your voices about K. Loomis or
It's like an
Aminator.
NDA. We're
Yeah,
signing
basically,
an
it's an
NDA.
NDA.
Oh, well, okay. That's less
Well,
worrisome.
but that's the short version he gave me. I am definitely going to read this thing before we actually sign, or before any of you sign.
He seems to have found it. And he's shaking. Oh, and it'll come falling out of the book, like, as it trails down. It's at least 6 feet long. And it's in glowing letters.
All right, well, that's not that many pages.
Amazon.com owns proprietary rights to all
Yeah.
the things that you... Oh, what?
No, thank you.
So would you like me to explain it to you, or would you just prefer to read it for yourself?
I am definitely going to read it for myself. Is
Very
it a
good, then.
language I understand?
It will be when you read it.
Okay.
So he'll turn it around in your general direction and hold the book. You'll need to sort of lift the bottom of the scroll as you get to it, but don't worry about that.
A contract with changeable script?
It's
That
not
seems
the
incredibly
script-
suspicious.
It's not that the script is mutable, it's that it's magical. I assure you, since you'll be signing it in blood, it's binding as to the specific terms at the moment you sign it.
Who are you again?
Hey, Loomis,
And where do you hail from?
that's a complicated question. I
Okay,
serve...
the short version.
Yes, I serve Aminator, Lord of the Sun.
And how do we know that?
Because I told you I did. And also because you're probably not going mad. Wait, you probably are going mad, but for different reasons.
Do you have some way to prove your identity to us?
Yes, but I'm not sure you'll like it.
Okay, well, do it to me then, not to everyone else.
He'll put a hand up, and then he'll put a hand down, and you will be driven to your knees as your mark flares to life where the circular spiky sun bits are. You'll find that it's just basically taken your knees out from under you, and you've been driven to them.
All right, that is a feature of our marks that I was not aware of, and I'm not a fan.
I see.
We are in a place that is my Lord's creation, using a power that is entirely his. It gives me a great degree of authority over you, as this is not strictly real.
You said you served Aminator. Isn't Aminator dead?
Is
Right
any
now?
god truly dead for as long as there is one devout worshiper alive?
I
Yes,
see.
my lord has fallen upon hard times, but we've made certain contingencies.
I like how you're putting that. Okay. I see.
They put
Very
a fake
well.
body in the boat, blew it up. He's in the, over in the island chilling right now. Non-extradition territory.
And what are your intentions for us?
My intentions are to provide you with a space where you might be able to master the knowledge that you've acquired in a way that will help to keep you alive. I seek to aid you.
I glance at Joel. Does that match the contract?
I haven't read. Okay, so I'm scanning
You're
the contract.
reading through it.
Well, actually, no, I'm not scanning. I am reading the contract.
You ever read a contract, Joel?
Yes, I have.
Okay. You ever read a contract by a lawyer from the 1800s, Joel?
Can't say as I have.
Okay.
Pretty archaic language.
There's a lot of party of the first part and the parties of the second part, and the in subclause, subsection C, S, D, C, blah 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 blah. So it's very dense language, but you're not a dummy. As long as you take the time and you keep scrolling up and down in all the appropriate places that it tells you need to, you should be able to get through this in a fairly short period of time.
Okay, we're absolutely
seem
not
to have a
signing
lot
this.
of.
We are absolutely not signing this. Summarize the points that you want to make, and we will sign a contract that has those summarized points. We are not going to sign something 6 feet long.
So you wish to make changes to the contract.
Boil it down to the essential elements, and we will consider those essential elements.
Spoken like a true follower of Aminator.
Mm-hmm.
The key components of this arrangement are that you, the bearers of the mark, if you see here, that symbol indicates bearers of the mark, agree to serve in this space the intentions of me, if you look here, sentience of the mark. My purpose is to provide you with training so that you might learn how to fight, better defend yourselves, resist negative influences, acquire some weapons skills, some survival skills, and a little bit of magic for those of you capable of learning it. You will be tested in mind, if not in body, but tested well enough that you will be able to take with you the lessons that you learn here. This place is not strictly dangerous to you, but pain is an important teacher, and so it does exist here.
I mean, that it had a bunch of parties in it sounded fun to me, but if it's...
Spoken like what I know you to be, yes. Also, and here are some very important bits. He's getting to some parts that are like glowing. You agree never to discuss this matter outside of this place. You will maintain that whatever abilities you had, you acquired either from some other source or always possessed in the first place. And you will most assuredly not, see subparagraph 3, most assuredly not discuss this place, me, my existence, Aminator, the Great Mission, or Joel, well, Joel's role in the Great Mission, with any other sentience of the marks.
Remind us what the Great Mission is?
That's a good point. We need to know it so we can not, we need to know what it is we're not talking about.
You asked me about it a short while ago.
You told me you want me to do pyro for a god, essentially.
Yes, yes.
I gotta admit, that sounds pretty badass, but... okay, so this runs the risk of us not knowing what it is we can't talk about. And also, I find it very odd that a follower of the god of laws would ask us to lie.
I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to withhold information or color that information.
You just said that we had to either pretend we already had these abilities already or say we got them from another source.
Yes,
that sounds an awful lot like a falsehood.
I don't believe that that's the case. And, Joel, if you honestly are trying to tell me that you don't believe that a god of the law and lawyers would lie, I'm not sure that we've chosen the right man.
Fair. But there are other gods of the law as well who might be more amenable to that worldview. So you understand my hesitation given the other powers involved.
It is entirely reasonable for you to doubt me, to doubt my provenance, to doubt the fact that I do not intend to do you ill. But ask yourself, has Aminator exhibited any flashy or showy powers, or really attempted to seduce any of you all? Or am I speaking fairly straight with you?
Kind of disappointed that it hasn't tried to seduce us, but whatever.
I suppose if that's a skill you wish to learn in this space.
A question, if you will.
Questions are permitted. He's pointing to a question in the contract. Except questions about the other powers or their servants.
it was going to refer to them. But this is strictly to make sure that we don't disclose information about you or about the Great Mission or about your relationship with Joel.
Certainly. Ask your question then.
We need to know who these voices are to make sure that we don't disclose information to them through another means.
You need to know that they are voices. They are connected to the mark. And that is all I can say, for the scales must always remain in balance.
So we could violate the contract unknowingly if a servitor of one of these voices comes to us outside of our own heads. And then we would be held accountable?
If a servitor of one of these voices comes to you outside of your own heads and you decide to do business with it, those choices are your own.
But, okay. But, say there's a voice speaking to one of us who is deceptive and tricks us into believing they are one thing when they are not. And a secret servant of that voice comes to us and learns information. How are we to avoid breaking our obligation?
That sounds like quite a conundrum.
I see.
You ought
Very
to
well.
do your best, Eric.
All right,
I
so
believe
we-
that is the most that would be considered reasonable for you. Is that
All
not
right, so
fair?
let's go ahead
And
and get
does
that.
it say
Well-
do your best in the contract?
Let's go ahead and get that in the contract. No deliberate disclosure.
Thank you.
Let's make that amendment.
I-
Okay, thank you.
I do
And
have one
let's talk-
question.
Go ahead.
You say you can't divulge who these voices are or what they are exactly, but
It is not my business.
not your business.
There's
I do
someone
have
down
one
there.
question of clarification. Whether or not you can answer it. If you can't, that's fine. But mine claims to be me or some fragment of myself. Is there any veracity to that? Any truth?
I can't comment on that. I don't know the entity in question that you are dealing with specifically. I know I can say that I am not Joel, nor is Joel me.
Fair enough.
I'm glad we have the Cartesian stuff out of the way. Okay.
So does that mean you're all prepared to sign then?
Yep.
So who'd like to go first?
YOLO.
Is there anything in the contract about what happens if we fail to hold up our end? Inadvertently or not?
Inadvertently is inadvertently. Deliberately is what we're concerned about here. Well, two things. One, if you should do so here, you will be ejected from this space immediately
Yeah, okay.
and without warning.
Mhm.
If you should do so outside of here, with the intention of causing my master to come to harm, or should one of the rest of you violate these terms with the intention of, and he's pointing at you, Joel coming to harm, then I cannot say that whatever power remains to Aminator will not be deployed against you.
The divine wrath. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm willing to sign on the dotted line. So,
Excellent! The quill is very sharp. Just prick your finger with it.
I feel like I've done this before. She stabs herself
Okay,
in the face.
you'll get some
stabs
nice
the finger
bright ruby blood there.
and signs.
Sign it,
And,
how exactly?
She signs it Amara.
Just Amara?
Wait.
Um, Amara Valerian.
Oh, there you go. Okay. And then
I'm-
who's next?
I'm owning the new ID. Okay, like
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I'll sign Randonius, Hendersonius Maximus, and yeah. I'm assuming that by signing a legal contract within the
Do you think
realms, we do
it's-
not now become intellectual property of Hasbro, right? We're still
I'm pretty sure that's not the
Okay.
case.
oh my
Um,
god.
just making sure. Okay.
Do you believe it is appropriate to sign your title as well? Randonius, he'll say. Take a look at your.
I'm not sure what my title would be.
You are a priest of Finder.
I guess technically.
That carries with it a certain gravitas, as a direct servant of the divine.
Yeah, but I'm not binding myself on behalf of Finder. This is a contract between you and I, not.
Very well, you may do as you wish. Okay, and next?
Yeah.
Okay, he'll hand the quill over to you. Any trepidation about this at all, or just token sign?
I'm in too deep, so like I mean throughout this whole like arguing, I'm like, I'm already screwed, so I
We're
guess
gonna
I'm
do it
twice as
eventually.
screwed If
Yeah.
so no
Okay.
hesitation here.
I
And
feel like
you're
I was in the
signing-
corner.
No one puts Randy in the corner. And signing as?
Just first name.
Okay, so Rhiannon. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That leaves just you two gentlemen.
Why exactly would a god of the sun ask us to sign a contract in our own blood?
Because blood is binding.
Mhm. I have aesthetic questions, but we can get to that later. I'll sign Elric Thalmor.
Okay. There you go. And lastly, Joel. I'm outie, guys. Good luck in the brain space.
I gotta admit, I'm tempted.
happy you guys agreed to come in here on my say-so. Gotta go.
Since the rest of the party's committed.
And you're signing as?
I am signing. I am initialing the change about deliberate, and then I am signing Joel at the bottom.
Just Joel.
Just Joel.
All right, fair
He's
enough.
just Joe.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, we're going to be spending quite a bit of time with each other, relatively speaking. Let's start with the basics, and that is how you all survive combat. Weapon of your choice, just think of it and it will appear.
Well,
Vindicator.
close my eyes.
Hey,
and,
Vindicator just shows up. He'll quirk an eyebrow at that.
Is it okay that that's in here?
It's not in the contract. That's what he'll say.
No, I didn't know if it was going to disclose anything by.
It seems awfully persistent, that thing.
Okay.
You see, Vindicator is not actually sworn to any particular deity, so this
Oh,
doesn't
that's right.
actually disclose anything.
well,
Spoken like a true follower of Aminator.
I will.
Pretty sure followers of Aminator have wielded this blade before. Anyway, go on.
Okay.
Sorry, Al. I didn't mean to speak over you. Go for it.
I will bring out a rapier.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that rapier.
It is kind of an ornate curling basket hilts with black metal worked with some silver, possibly matching some of the designs on her armor, just to make it like nice and aesthetic.
Got them. Aesthetics are important. It's I think I said in our last session, important to make a first impression.
Elven handiwork, probably, just from the look of it. Nice, long, graceful blade.
The best rapiers are.
Yeah. Silver, like silver color at least. It's in tone.
Would you be interested in learning a defensive blade to match that, or are you interested only in using the one weapon at a time?
I think I'd prefer to use the one at a time.
Very good. Randonius.
Oh, well, I'm a cleric, so I'm supposed to use blunt weapons, I think, at this point. So,
You're a
Silver-
priest of Finder. I don't believe he's terribly particular.
okay. Silver-coated steel nunchucks.
Well, you appear to be quite particular.
Yeah, I actually know how to swing those things, so...
Oh.
Just be aware, friend, that while those exist while you're in here, you'll have to find a pair of them when you get out of this place. So time you spend learning how to use them.
All right, mace.
All
mace.
right, mace.
Silver-coated steel.
Okay. Are we looking at horseman's or footman's mace?
Spray
Foot-
mace.
Yeah, footman's mace, yeah.
Okay.
Mace Windu.
The big boy. Okay, got it.
Just check Samuel L. Jackson at your end.
Yeah.
Walk away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel?
Until Randy went, I was going to try to bring forth my M4, but chances of finding one of those in the realm slim to none. Then I will summon a Wazakashi.
Okay.
Actually, I will try to bring forth the array. Because I get 4 weapon proficiencies.
Wakasashi.
The Naginata.
Naginata.
Light crossbow and the sap.
Oh my
Wow.
lord.
Okay. Yes.
You've chosen an interesting collection of weapons. I can school you in them, but I will say the same thing to you that I said to Randonius a moment ago. You're in a place where most things are longswords.
Which are the same length I am, so that would be when I go back, presumably. So I will go with this set of weapons.
If you're worried about being a dwarf, that matter will be resolved upon your waking. You see, it was temporary. It was never permanent.
Ah, interesting. I will stick with my selection.
Well, I guess that explains why you're showing up here as you are.
Oh yeah, didn't your brother or someone like do it to you, like as a curse? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was how it happened in game. But
Well,
Did you like being a dwarf, or do you want to go back to being a dwarf?
I don't know. It's kind of
Something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to go back, honestly. But low center of gravity has some advantages.
There's also some other things I'd like to learn, if at all possible, but I don't know if that's something we have time for here. I guess time is relative. I'm an elf that can't speak Elvish.
So you would like to learn a little bit of the essentials of the Elvish language?
I would like that very much, yes.
There are several dialects. Did you have one in particular in mind?
That's a fair point. I mean,
While you ponder that,
yes.
Rhiannon.
Well, so, I mean, I don't think I'm imagining a particular weapon. I'm imagining some sort of like, get back. And I know we discussed like doing a quarterstaff. So I'm assuming that like that would sort of come to the idea of like, stay back, because it's definitely not the idea of like, oh, we're in close, so I'm going to stab at you. It's like, stay away from me.
He will explain that if what you're looking for is a simple weapon that doesn't require a tremendous amount of finesse, although can be used with great finesse when one masters it over time, and is designed to try to keep things away from you and also serves a number of other purposes in the real world, you could do worse than a quarterstaff. I have other skills I'm going to teach you. Language is a skill I can. Some magical skills are skills I can.
Cantrips.
Yes, I could, of course, teach you an assortment of cantrips. Although I assume you want other spells as well.
You got them? You got them, I take them.
I'm
tired
do
of fire.
have quite a number of basic spells. You seem to have, he's looking you up and down, a talent for fire. But I think you can learn other things as well. They just might not come to you as easily.
I don't care. I'm tired. I didn't like the whole like killing, forest creatures thing. That wasn't great. So a little effort is worth it.
Understood. Very well.
No.
So
learning to use one of those hand crossbows that the drow would have might be helpful too.
Very well. Imagine one.
Yeah, I'd love a longbow.
She will. I'll do that.
So let's talk missile weapons while we're talking weapon types, right? So, Allie, you're interested in tagging in a missile weapon of hand crossbow. Randy, you're interested in tagging in missile weapon of longbow. You mean literal? Yep. It's 6 feet tall, and so am I. Longbow.
Well, I mean, use a step down or a recurve, like something maybe yeah.
Short bows are more common, sort of like among the common folk in the realm.
Short. We'll go with short.
Okay. So I mean, it's easier to use. Longbow is quite a skill. Okay, so
yeah.
Short bow. Joel, anything of the range non-M4 variety?
I had my light crossbow was on my list.
Light crossbow, no trouble at all. Eric, I mean, who needs missile weapons or like?
Oh no, I suspect that I do need a particular, at least a missile weapon.
Okay, so what one do you want to learn?
Well, what I'm going to want to learn is I want to learn the sword's group proficiency, which requires 3 slots. And then I can learn another one because I have 4, right?
You do, yeah.
And with the 4th, it seems like I could do a javelin thing or like a bow.
There's a very big difference between javelin.
Yeah, I know,
and
those are very different. What do you all think I should do? Or do I have to spend that slot to specialize in sword? Like, because we talked about that paladins could do that, or does
if you want to specialize in Vindicator yourself and not just rely on the blade to puppet you, then you have to spend a slot to specialize in Vindicator.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I'm cool with Vindicator being the source of that thing.
Out of curiosity, as a thief, how many slots do I get?
A thief, I'm pretty sure, starts with 2 weapon slots, gains an additional weapon slot at 3rd level. So frankly, 3, because you're going to be, when you're done with this, 3rd level. So you'll have 3 weapon slots. You also have these non-weapons slots, and then these floating slots that are tied to your intel, which you can put it either to weapon or non-weapon as you see fit. But now just sort of start with a couple basic weapons.
Okay, so yeah, the hand crossbow, the rapier, and then like the dagger.
Okay, so
I have a dagger.
Yeah. You do, as a matter of fact. All right, and Rhiannon, miss a weapon of some kind or another?
I thought I only got the one.
You can burn some of those other slots we just talked about. Okay, you're like, I'll learn the minimum number of weapons I am required to learn. Excellent. All right. So welcome to the first, well, maybe not the first, but one of the really weird things about this dream space. You are going to spend the next several days just fighting each other, fighting creatures that your gracious host will summon, basically make appear out of the sand around you. Fight together, fight apart, practice dodging things, practice taking blows. Pain, as I mentioned, is an important teacher, so these things will hurt. You will get cut, you will get bludgeoned, you will get whatever. You're just not taking any permanent damage as a consequence of that. However, there's no break. There's no sleeping. There's no eating. There's no going to the bathroom. There's no being alone. It's all just this constant training, followed by training, followed by training, followed by training, followed by training. You're compressing what would have taken you literally months into however long of a period of time that your drill master, well, you signed the contract, is going to drill you to achieve this. Furthermore, it never gets dark here. It's always really bright out, like the noonday sun. Go figure.
Hyperbolic time chamber.
So it'll start to eat around the edges of your sanity a smidge as it goes. And this is one of those kind of like mission to Mars situations. You know, you guys are spending a whole lot of quality time together. A whole lot of quality time together. So when you're done here, you're probably not going to want to just to hang out with one another immediately afterward. What's more, it's awfully quiet in here. There's no voice, Rhiannon. There's no voice, Allie.
I mean, that's kind of nice.
There's a voice, Joel, but it's connected to a body that's right in front of you. And there's no Jamal in here, Randy. The only person who seems to have brought something into this dream from outside of it is Eric. And that pesky blade of his.
Hey, you all still have your marks, okay? My sword basically is my mark.
little bit of your mark back now.
I know that, and I am considering how the weight of all of that. So yeah.
So you'll drill and you'll fight, and you'll drill and you'll fight, and you'll drill and you'll fight. And at the conclusion of that time frame, which it's really hard to keep track of time, but that couldn't have been less than a week, you will be the levels that you are supposed to be for purposes of your THACOs, your saving throws, your hit points, your general combat capabilities, meaning your weapon-related and fighting-style-related combat capabilities. I'm not going to go through all of those with you in great detail right here, because this is the quick way to train. But in between sessions, we'll talk about exactly how you spent your proficiency slots for those sorts of things.
Cool.
But suffice it to say, everyone of this party is now out of reels, meaning everybody's got more than 10 hit points. You can get smacked by something and not immediately bleed. Isn't that delightful?
Delightful.
Mm-hmm. So
I expected to die the instant that staff struck me. I just want you to know.
there was a chance, but fortunately I rolled low. Okay, so now we're going to talk about things you want to learn that aren't that, right? Rhiannon wants to learn cantrips. She's very clear on that point. Do you, through any place to your knowledge, have access to a complete wizard's handbook? It's a 4-set grouping of all the wizard spells in 2e, almost all the wizard spells in 2e. It's not quite everyone, but it's most of them. And it has in it a section at the end, so volume 4, on cantrips. And it's got every bloody type of cantrip you can conceivably imagine. There's no limit to what you can learn. And you have a lot of time on your hands. It takes you no more than 10 minutes to learn cantrips. Now, he'll explain to you in a friendly fashion that the best and easiest thing for you to do in the real world is to memorize a use of cantrips as a first level spell when you're seeking to cast cantrips in more than just desperate situations. It'll cost you basically 4 spell points from your reserve, right? And for a number of hours equal to your level, you'll be able to cast round after round after round after round of cantrips. So 3 hours worth of whatever the heck it is in the cantrip world you might want to get your hands on. I can get you a list of what all of them are, and they're pretty straightforward in terms of what there are on the list. You can also, at any time, for the cost of a single spell point, do a single cantrip. And that's a way to be able to start a small fire, or summon a little bee, or brighten up a fading flower, or all the various things that cantrips can do. Collect a group of coins together in a situation where you don't know that you're going to need it, and you have a little bit of spell points to kick around to use. Okay?
So it's unlimited data or pay as you go.
Correct. Yes. Think of it that way. Okay. He also has time to teach you, those of you who can learn this, spells. Okay, so Allie, you don't have any of those because you're a thief. So you're going to go to the skills portion of this conversation. We'll get there in a second. Eric, you don't yet have any of those, if I recall correctly, because your paladin kit does not allow for them until at least 4th level.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So again,
which is standard for 2nd edition paladins.
Yes, it is standard for 2nd edition paladins. So we'll talk about that for skills for you when we get there in a minute. Remind me, Joel, what you decided you wanted to do. Is cleric at all on your wish list?
No, definitely not.
No. Okay, all right. So you will also learn 0 spells. So that then brings us to Randy and Rhiannon. Okay, so Randy, he is able to teach you 5 first level wizard magics that you're going to cast like a bard, which means that there's always some performance component to the spell. So Magic Missile, for example, has no material component, but it always requires, it's a somatic and a verbal component. Yours have to be a rhyming couplet or a little tune or a little dance or whatever the case may be. It's not just the traditional what a wizard would use for casting that particular spell. It always has to have a performance component to it. So those spells, for example, that would be verbal only, must be sung, etc., etc., etc. Can teach you in this time frame 5 spells. Rhiannon, I have the time to teach you 5 first and 3 second level spells in this time frame. I can't teach you fire spells because I can't teach you fire spells, but I can teach you most basic wizard magics. Now, these are going to require the things that normal wizards have to do to deal with these nonsense spells, but you'll be able to cast them like a sorcerer insofar as you don't have to memorize them. So, but if it requires a material component, it requires a material component. Your
So there's
fire
no
spells,
arcane focus in
no, that's a third plus edition concept.
Gotcha.
So if it requires a material component, it requires a material component. Your fire spells are the only ones that exempt you from that particular.
Okay.
So let's talk first level spells for a minute. Every wizard worth their salt needs at least a couple of spells that everyone should get, right? They are read magic, because gosh golly, you might want to read somebody else's spell book at some point in time. So one of the spells you will learn is read magic. Okay? Detect magic, terribly useful for knowing when things are magic or not. And as somebody casting wizard spells, it's a thing everybody really should get their hands on. Okay, so second spell you'll both be taught will be detect magic. Going to recommend shield.
Yeah.
Okay, so Randy, that's a dealer's choice. I'm not forcing you to take it, but I'm going to recommend shield for you. Shield's a great spell because even without equipment, it gives you a little bit of an armor class, and magic missiles stops them dead, which is, good, because those things can be quite nasty. Do you have any interest in the spell?
EP?
Okay,
It
you
only
want to
lasts
think about
one round, though, right?
You want to think about it. No, I think it's 5 rounds per level, which for a second level caster would be 10 minutes. For a third level caster, it'd be 15 minutes. Okay, so welcome to second edition, where spells last. Go ahead, Randy. Were you going to say a thing?
You said you can teach me 5 spells, and so the read magic, detect, and shield would be 3 of them. And
that is correct.
I have 2 that I could choose myself.
That is also correct. Yes.
Okay.
I'm just making you recommendations. You are free to turn down my recommendations and say, I don't want those nonsense spells. Give me sleep 4 times or whatever it is whatever it is you really want to learn. Okay. So you want to think about it for a minute? Rhiannon, let's go over to you.
Yep.
So what do you want to know beyond those 3 first level spells? You got 2 more.
I mean, can I get magic missile?
You certainly can. And
Okay.
you'll get 2 of them at your level. You'll notice that they're of an emerald hue. Everybody's magic missiles are a little bit different. Okay.
Sigh.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so that's that one. Anything else? You got 1 more.
I mean, sleep seems like, if that's the correct level, like,
It is.
A non-lethal, unless magic missile isn't necessarily lethal, but a non-damage, a damage, a shield, and then some other stuff. So yeah, sleep
Definitely
probably.
keeps you from having to burn people alive if what you're looking for is a way to disable them without killing them.
Yes.
And extraordinarily useful against low-level opponents. Works on people up to 4 levels or hit dice, which is all of you. Yeah. Offers no saving throw. And does up to 4d4 hit dice worth of things in one go. So, youch. Quite a powerful spell, used the right way. Okay, so sleep will be that last spell. Randy, are you leafing through second edition first level spells?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Tell me what you're thinking.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking. So, having read about Finder Wyvernspur, he naturally is very skilled and has like an ability to always do charm and change self, essentially.
Those are
That's
correct,
like his
yeah.
go-tos and representative of him. So those were the first 2 I thought about. So I think we have combat really well covered. in the others, and so I was trying to think of utility type things that would help us in other situations.
Sorry, let me break it for a second. Are those spells that he would acquire as a cleric of Finder?
No, these are spells that he'd be learning on the bard side of the equation. As a
Okay,
cleric
I didn't know
Finder,
if Finder gave those to his clerics. I just wouldn't want him to burn his bard spells.
if it's not in as a specialty priest that Finder does provide those to clerics, and I don't remember reading that in the specialty priest entry, then you need not concern yourself of it. The way the clerical spells are going to work is you get a certain number of slots, and you got like 3 first and 2 second or whatever the slots are for your appropriate level. Yeah,
it's pretty much.
And then you've got a little bit of a bonus for in the same way that you do with spell points for wizards. There's also kind of spell points for clerics, so you're probably going to end up with a third, Randy, in terms of bonus. But basically, it's smoke them if you got them, whatever you need in the moment within the realm of the spheres and spells that are available to Finder.
Right. So the other three.
That's a little. You're important to Finder. Here you go. Pat on the shoulder.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So charm or change self, just because it's very much in the spirit of Finder, and also I think those are really useful spells, like if we're trying to infiltrate someplace or whatever. Color spray, just because.
Yeah. Color spray is also a pretty useful spell in terms of its ability to damage multiple opponents. Really effective against low-level folks.
Stuns or knocks them out or whatever, but it doesn't really kill people.
Big rainbow blast.
Yep, and that seems very on brand. Phantasmal force and illusion, so that's can be useful as a distraction or to get us by things or whatever. And then wall of fog to as a hide the group or to help us escape or something like that. So those are the spells that I was toying around with. And if I can only choose,
bards are very eclectic in the way that they approach magic. So really, if you don't want to learn like a wizard, learn like a bard. Take whatever you like.
Right, but I've named 5. I can choose a maximum of 3.
What your friend is saying is, if you don't need to feel, if you feel like I don't need, I've got this as a cleric. I can detect magic as a cleric. I don't need to know how to detect magic as a wizard. I got this covered. I don't need to know how to read magic. I'll have somebody teach me the spells when I come across them.
Gotcha.
Then
then I think I would go with. I'd probably go with these 5.
All right.
Listed.
Those are your choices.
Unless the wisdom of the group would caution me otherwise.
Follow your heart. That's my advice.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that would be a very Finder, true to Finder, but also bolster the group in ways outside of combat, other than color spray. That would be my if I get cornered, color spray.
Excellent choices. All right. So Rhiannon, let's talk second level spells for a moment. So probably the single most combat effective second level spell, from a save your butt perspective, is probably Mirror Image.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So something to think about in that regard. Somebody's at least got to figure out which one of these things is real. That makes it a little bit harder to take you apart.
Can I do it on other people or just on me?
Mirror Image itself.
Okay.
There are other spells, invisibility, for example, that are pretty impressive as general second level spells that you can cast on yourself or someone else.
Do we have knock in this edition?
It is a spell in second edition. It opens things, unfastens things, etc., etc., etc.
It doesn't make the loud ringing noise. It does make a noise, but it's not quite as massive as in 5th edition.
Well, I was just thinking as far as because I don't want to be 100% combat.
I think knock could be a great spell.
Okay, because we're not dungeon crawling murder hobos, but we do get caught in places.
Yeah, good instinct.
So one of the 3 is knock.
I was gonna say find familiars, another first level one, but we kind of have familiars in our voices and all that kind of stuff.
I don't need another.
Given how often we end up running away,
we have Gendry following us, or Gender.
Given how often we end up running away, what about hold portal?
What is that one?
Basically, a door can't be opened. So it allows you to lock a door.
Oh, I see.
Like magically seal it
Yeah,
closed.
magically seal it so it can't be opened without without a knock spell, I think.
A wizard, I think of higher level, above a certain amount, or brute force.
Right, you
We'll
can
also
hammer
do
the
this
door
right.
down, but if
It's just much harder.
I just trying to think of what second level spells were around in this edition.
What level is Dispel Magic, if it exists? 3. Okay.
I think it's still third, yeah.
I think third.
So
I
you have a
don't
little
remember which-
ways to go there.
Sorry, I'm reading the chat here.
He's right.
Wizard
Okay.
lock. Sorry.
Well, mirror image, I mean, makes sense to me. Sure.
So mirror image, knock, I believe you said.
So that's
So
2.
that just
and that's
leaves
just
you
a
with
third.
just a third.
Any
there
other
are-
ideas from the peanut gallery?
Peanut gallery? I believe that was to you, unless I'm the peanut gallery.
So we went with magic missile, right? Knock, mirror image. How many spells did you get in total?
3 second
Still,
level.
yeah, 3 second level. So it's the third second level that I'm trying
Oh,
to.
so
I'm
you're
trying to
looking
think
for
of
a third second level spell. Okay.
Yeah.
You already know the Scorcher spell, right?
Yep.
Do those draw on the same resource pool as your wizard spells will? Or the ones you're learning now, I should say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's,
Excuse me.
enlarge, featherfall.
I mean, I guess maybe I could go with invisibility and call it like
Oh, invisibility
go
is
for
real. Yeah, that's a good
the
idea.
standards. So
If you were feeling as though you needed to detect invisibility more than you needed to be invisible, that's also an option for you at second level.
just it's a specific detect invisibility.
That's correct. It detects hiding things and invisible things.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like in kitchen gadgets, there's a thing Alden Brown called the unitasker, which is like it does
Yeah.
one thing and then it takes up space. I feel like that's a unitasker spell.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I
invisibility it
think
is
that's
then.
my set. Yeah.
All right, excellent. So, moving past skills and weapons and going to general things you might want to learn, or spells and weapons, and going to general things, skills that you might want to learn. Allie and Randy, you both have points that you can apply to certain thief or bard skills. You'll have to spend those. We can talk in between sessions about how exactly you want to spend those. But this next week of your lives, will be spent in the skill and spell acquisition, and so you'll be learning those various things during that time frame. I don't think anybody else has anything other than non-weapon proficiencies, which is just basically skills that one could learn that they need to learn during this time frame. You don't have to tell me all of them now. We can come up with some of them later, but if there's something in particular that you want me to know about, Allie, you said Elvish.
Elvish, yes.
And I said, what dialect? And you said?
I don't know the full range of like obviously Drow
The
have
big
their dialect.
three, right? The big three
Yeah.
are Drow, sort of Moon Elvish, which is sort of like the common of Elvish, and High Elvish, which is kind of like the Gold Elfish of Elfish. Those are sort of the big three. There's other dialects, but those are the most common.
I took the form of a Moon Elf. I might as well learn Moon Elvish.
That's your classic, most commonly applicable Elven. Okay.
That's a good idea.
You aren't entirely fluent, but you're a solid speaker by the time this time frame is over, because he's just basically going to speak to you only in Elvish during this entire period of time, and you're going to
That
learn
works.
as you go. Okay. All right. Other things people want to learn? Anybody else itching to learn a language?
It seems like it would be useful. I just don't know which language I would want to spend it on. So
Something you can think about.
I would like to learn Elvish.
What
We
dialect?
could learn together.
I'll pair up with Allie and he can only talk to us in Elvish because I like that concept.
Okay, fair enough. There it is.
Cool.
Rhiannon are learning languages you don't speak.
Well, so I got a lot of stuff to learn. I don't know that I want to learn Elvish. I was gonna go for the like make a shelter, cook over an open flame, kind of like don't die in the forest kind of stuff.
Survival is a non-weapon proficiency? Yeah, that would
Yeah.
give you most of that if that's what you're looking to, not die in the forest.
And maybe tracking? Is that a thing
Tracking is
that-
a separate proficiency
Okay.
that allows you to track.
My mask, the horn mask, allows you to track as well.
He's right.
That's one of the effects of it.
Oh, well, I mean,
But it
so-
doesn't mean that you shouldn't also learn it
Well,
yourself too.
We only get a couple of non-weapon proficiencies though, so
yeah,
if that's
Well-
something we
so I
already
don't
have
want to waste
covered
it.
within the party. I don't. Yeah.
Does
So survival.
Does Rihanna get all 6 that spellcasters like wizards do at early levels?
Wizard gets 4 to start,
4 to start. I thought it was 6. Anyway,
plus 1 at 3rd level, and every 3 levels thereafter. So here in this case, you'd be talking about 5. Plus, there's going to be some bonus proficiencies. Think 4-ish probably or more. So now you're up to like 9. But you will have spent some of those as humans accumulating knowledge over the course of your life. So like Rhiannon, you'll have a slot in archaeology because it's an actual proficiency. And you'll all have something called education, which basically represents K through college for those of you. Because I'm assuming everybody here fits in the K through college category. Some people maybe even beyond into graduate degrees. And that's sort of like a little bit of everything, right? So that's 2 slots you'll all get eaten up by virtue of the fact that you picked up some skills in the real world. You might also have, I'm a fantastic swimmer, I'm a gymnast, there's other things you might know.
I'd probably have like education and cooking because I'm actually a pretty solid cook.
So there you go. You've got cooking as well. And so
Probably put swimming for me,
okay.
and then survival for the other one.
Swimming
I mean,
isn't just the ability to swim. It's like good swimmer, not just like anyone can stay afloat. It's like I
I did
swim,
synchro, so
and you are good to go. Okay, fair enough. So anyway, again, in between sessions we can talk about it. I just need to know if there was anything in particular you needed to know here.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that entire ordeal took another, from your perspective, week of your lives. So you have now, in the last however long this actually really took, spent over 14 days non-stop together in each other's presence. Not eating, not sleeping, not going to the bathroom, not getting any darkness.
somebody's getting stabbed.
Right.
Yeah. Learning
combat
things the
training.
entire day. Yeah, there
It's
you
probably
go.
it's probably
Take it out.
Eric.
is it a combat drill? Yeah, it's a drill.
Do we get hurt? Like not just pain, but are we injured in this space?
No. None of
Okay.
the wounds that,
Oh,
you're,
yeah, no.
that you're acquiring here are real, but pain is a teacher, and so you're feeling pain so that you know, oh yeah, that's how I don't get hit.
Yeah,
is,
once we
move.
realize that, at some point I feel like Eric is definitely getting stabbed.
Eric,
Wow.
it sounds to me like they want to like take you on collectively towards the end of the training. Part of one of the graduation components of the thing.
I'm not trying to be difficult. Anyway,
Like
You'll-
throwing
you'll-
a dagger at him.
You'll also notice that there's a favorite here. There's somebody in this place who's getting A+ attention from the professor,
Who could that be?
and that's Joel. And so whenever there's a question about whose attention gets first, or whoever's get that extra little bit of whatever, it's always going over in Joel's direction. And that might be grading over time, or it might not be. It depends on your personality, I suppose. But Joel, you're made to wait for nothing here in this dream space.
I
And
think that might be grading for me, but okay.
perhaps it is. And your gracious host is extremely concerned about your safety, well-being, and your ability to pick up the skills necessary for you to survive in the real world. So that attention comes with extra drilling, extra whatever. So it's good, but it's also maybe a little bit harder on you as a virtue of the fact that you're doing that. For those of you used to seeing other people, Randy, or hearing other voices, Allie and Rhiannon, while at first it was a nice little vacation from your good little friends, it starts to get weird after a while, especially because there's some divine entity romping about, and it's blabbing to Joel all the time and speaking to people in Elvish and, yada, yada, yada. There's always sunlight in this place. So you'll probably find yourself having the rather odd sensation, bless you, of missing that communication a little. Now, Allie, you've done that before. You've made it clear that you want to talk. And there's probably a reasonable supposition that since you're sleeping, you're probably going to end up with a conversation when you're done here.
Fair enough.
So now that's just oh man, when's that coming? But I mean, you are busy, so you don't have a ton of time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Rhiannon, I mean, you don't really like that thing, but it is uniquely yours.
Yeah.
And it does make fun of other people sometimes in ways that are, especially Eric, in ways that are really entertaining. So you kind of
And accurate, yeah.
you kind of
Well,
find
it's
yourself
like-
thinking, that's what the voice would say. Right now, the voice would say.
Yeah. It's like family. Like, you know them really well.
Yeah.
And you get the same jokes.
So
It's your funny but toxic uncle, yeah.
So does anyone
boy.
have anything before we
Okay.
arrive at the end of our training period?
Once I've had a couple of minutes to think about it,
Mhm.
I want to learn ancient Netherese.
I had
Oh.
thought about that. Yeah.
Ancient Netherese. Well, your host is actually delighted that you want to learn ancient Netherese and super happy to teach you. The question is this: do you want the Netherese spoken in the enclaves, or do you want the Netherese spoken on the ground? Say enclaves.
I was
That's
going to
what
say
you're-
the enclaves probably, because there's probably a lot more written records from the
High Netherese.
yeah.
You
high
want
Netherese.
high
There we go.
Netherese. Okay. He is-
It's called high Netherese because
'Cause
they're
of-
floating. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So he is delighted to teach you High Netherese, which has all the complexities of Greek and Latin rolled into one.
That sounds awful familiar. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else before our 80s power chord training montage comes to an end?
Nothing specific that wouldn't be covered when we just figure this out outside of game.
I just want to register on screen that with the number of daggers that keep getting thrown at me, I might have a basis for arguing that I learned the juggling,
Yep.
non-weapon proficiency. So I'm just,
If you want to learn
hey,
the
that was a
juggling-
good one. Aw.
If you want to learn the juggling non-weapon proficiency, you're welcome to do so.
Okay.
Something that's also not a bad weapon or non-weapon proficiency to have is tumbling.
Yeah.
Tumbling is actually quite useful for a bunch of things. So something for you all to think about. And Randy, I think
Okay.
you just went through some performance-based and like etiquette, for example, which is like, what do you say to this lord in this situation kind of thing. Proficiencies that you're interested in picking up. Is that correct?
Yeah, singing is a natural one, obviously, but then
Yep.
healing is cleric, forgery, and etiquette as a bard get
So
us into places and
Healing is
situations.
just basically like battlefield, like here's wrap a tourniquet on
First
it,
aid,
and
yeah.
like that sort of stuff. It
I
can
just got my
actually get
first
you.
aid certification.
It can actually get you hit points back if you're under the aid of a person who has that proficiency. You get them back at a natural rate. With that person with the right equipment, you can get them back at accelerated rates. So it's actually quite
Yeah.
useful. So that's a good one to have. And forgery, interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Juggling,
probably
you've already
also
got.
spent a while smithing things.
In my little
Randy, that was
Extreme
probably
seat, yeah.
awesome, but the
Yeah,
your
it doesn't
camera's
pick it
blocking
up.
them out.
Yeah.
yeah. And also, I'm in a really small space. I'm like trying not
Yeah.
to hit everything. But
So
yeah,
do you
I can
do you already have juggling, Randy? In which case, you
Yeah,
have already
I
spent
can
one of
juggle.
your existing proficiencies on it. Okay. And Eric, you want to learn a bit about the basics of blacksmithing.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I'm capable of teaching you just about anything. All right.
Cool. Great.
So there you have it.
I mean, I personally know some basics about blacksmithing, but this would be an opportunity to develop that more. So
really dig in there and get all that blacksmithing out there. Understood. So you just basically spent, usually training's about 8 hours a day. You just did that 24 hours a day, for about 2 weeks, 15-ish days. So you guys basically got what amounted to about 90 days worth of training.
Wow.
In however long of a period of time. See, Eric, I told you I could pull that off. Okay, so ta-da, as they say. My only question to you now, GM'd players, is Allie, your conversation or first break first? What would you like?
I would not mind my conversation.
All right, conversation it is. So you'll fade from the reality of the ever blazing dream space. Your new guide and associate, who, you just spent a bunch of time with him. He's really not that bad of a guy. He's a little stiff around the edges, doesn't have much of a sense of humor, he takes things very literally, but he means well, he really does. And he did teach you a bunch of things, so you all feel somewhat close to him as a consequence of that. Not sure that you're going to see him again anytime soon, so, maybe you'll miss the crazy old guy.
What was his name?
He's gone. His name was K. Loomis. It's actually spelled Caelumis, K. Loomis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a good nickname. Loomy.
There you go.
K-Loo.
CL, whatever you want to call the guy.
Yeah.
But in any event, so that will pass. You will descend into blissful actual sleep, where you will not be in a blazing room with each other for the first time in however long. But as we all know from sleeping, that usually ends pretty quickly, so you'll only get that relief until you're awake. You, Allie, however, will awake in a different environment. You are once again in what is a now more obvious to you darkened underground cavern, like a big giant underground cavern, right? Seemed kind of like this before, but couldn't quite be sure. Now you can sort of see a little bit more of it to know that you're in the dark. You can see in the dark a bit better, and this is probably underground in a cavern-like environment. There is once again a figure moving in that darkness, approaching you. It is more readily definable as humanoid, more readily definable as female from the way that it moves. And it bears a certain resemblance. You haven't seen its face yet, but it bears a certain resemblance to a person that you saw not so long ago, although much longer feeling now than when you went to sleep. And there you are, waiting.
Well, this has been a long time coming. Good evening.
Stepping out of the darkness and close enough, so really within a couple of feet of you, is the spitting image of the fox at twilight.
Why am I not surprised?
She will smile at you with a twinkle in her eye and will say, yes, a while, but not so long. Once again, when you hear that voice, which sounds exactly like the fox at twilight, sends a thrill up your spine.
I take it that this, and I'll kind of motion to my face, was more your doing. Not that I actually believe you're actually the fox at twilight.
Is this not what you desire? I labor to provide you that which you desire. And now the fox at twilight is unclothed.
Well, you're certainly more like her than I anticipated. Point being, I want to know what you really are.
Did I not tell you what I really was?
Some aspect of myself,
Mixed with the
desires.
power of the mark, the power of your desire. And I know what you're thinking. Does it really matter what I am?
I'd say in a certain respect it does. If only
Why?
because, well, I need to know if I can trust you. I'm not sure that I can.
Ask yourself that question again. In it, you'll have the answer. What I'd say to you is this. I know what, more than anything in the world, you want. And I know how to unlock the power you have within you. My only agenda is to bring you pleasure of one kind or another. So, the source of my power, what does it matter?
It matters because I don't want to find myself bound to an otherworldly being with nefarious intent. Certainly, if you're masquerading as Twilight, you'd understand the desire for freedom.
And it's that same liquid laugh. Smells good. She smells good too. You're picking that up now. I'm just trying to reflect that with that which I know that you want. I can be anything or anyone, just like you can. If you want her, I can help you to get her.
I'm not looking to coerce or cajole anyone into doing anything.
Is it coercing or cajoling someone to offer them their heart's desire?
It's manipulation.
And who does not, at some point in their life, manipulate other people? Doesn't it matter why?
I'd say so. If you're some part of me, then you know the kind of person I am.
That I do, yes.
Well, I'm willing to do certain things to accomplish things that I want. That's a bridge too far.
Do with the power that you have what you will with the power that you have. I'm not asking for much.
And what are you asking for?
When the time comes and there's some help that I need, I'll be sure to be clear about what that help is. Till then, all you need to know is that I wish no harm to come to the tiefling bait.
I think we can agree on that then. I don't either.
I had every reason to believe that we would.
I do have a question about this power that you've already unlocked.
Yes. It is just the beginning of what you can accomplish.
Well, then my first question is, does each time I use it require a fraction of power from the mark? Is it finite?
The idea that it is finite is predicated on the idea that there are not sources to recharge that power, and that would be wrong. Among them, every single one of your companions carries some element of that power. That's just to start.
So the implication then is that every time I change my form, it's going to take a piece.
Every time you change your form entire, you did not just change from one thing to the other. You became it in truth. If all you want to learn is how to temporarily be something, then that I can teach you as well.
I can't say I'm not tempted. But
There'll be a little bit of a laugh at that one.
something I'll have to consider.
Please do.
Are there others out there that have this power?
Your power?
Yes.
There are other natural individuals who have the capacity to change what they are. They are not usually human, though, or elven, or dwarven. There are certain races that have the natural capacity to change what they are, but even they are just pretending. You are changing yourself in truth.
So I am an elf through and through like this.
At the moment, indeed you are, for as long as you wish to be one.
I have no immediate desire to change.
Excellent. Then you shall be as you desire.
There are other things I want to tap into.
Certainly. Ask, and if they are within my power to grant you, I will do everything I can to grant them to you. As I said, I exist to bring you pleasure.
Well, the words you gave me, that's for the armor, isn't it?
It is.
I thought so.
Is that a skill you would like to learn for yourself?
It is.
While I do not have the ability to teach that skill, I do. So all you'd need to do is bring me in again.
To find the real Twilight, is what I'm hearing then.
Indeed. Oh, and a bit of free advice. It seems unlikely that you would do that where you are presently physically located. However, there are places geographically nearby where I am fairly certain she'd be willing to appear.
Skullport.
Indeed, more than one location within it. There is a brothel in particular. The being will shudder. If you think that the pleasures of the flesh are something you've experienced, you don't know them until you've been to this place.
Well then, does this place have a name?
Yes, the Dark Dancer. Ironic, isn't it?
Of course. Well, as far as this ability to alter one's shape temporarily, without the skin, without the depth of the other, I'm guessing that would take another power of the mark, wouldn't it?
It would indeed. One must build upon such knowledge. There are methods in the art for changing one's shape. We'll try to discuss them in terms that you may be able to understand more clearly. Spells. Circles of power. You're familiar with these, yes?
Yes.
So, for example, a spell of the first circle, alter self, or change self, depending upon how you've come to know it, allows you to make limited physical changes to yourself that are not illusory, but real. A spell of the fourth circle, polymorph, allows you to make longer-lasting, more extensive changes of yourself. And finally, a spell of the ninth circle, I've forgotten the name of the spell, DM to players, shape change. Shape change allows you to become anything. Change self or alter self limits you to different types of humanoids. Polymorph limits you to creatures of a certain size. Change self allows you, or shape change allows you to take the form of a great worm dragon if you so desired. These are some of the things that with time and the exercise of power I could teach.
I see. Well, given that you already talked about payment, I'm already beholden to you, aren't I?
You're simply doing what I would have you do that you would do yourself. I cannot force you to do anything.
And if I were to learn this, would I be digging myself in deeper? Would I owe you more?
I suppose that I would probably want you to use the power that you acquired to achieve the mission that I've already set before you. And, well, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that there would probably be at some point a difficult choice. Those babes are not just of interest to me.
I see. That power would be useful, I'll admit.
Certainly.
But I'm not keen on the idea of potentially betraying the people that I consider to be my friends.
I would think it very unlikely that you would find yourself in a situation where you would have to do that. I know of at least one friend of yours who would likely be able to be counted as an ally in such a mission.
All right. Show me.
The friend?
No, the power.
Oh, of course.
I'm
going
making
to
the
teach
choice.
you. I'm going to teach you this power in a way that you'll enjoy. And she will reach out and kiss you. Suffice it to say that you're having a reprise of the situation that occurred not too long ago in the real world. And in the course of that transfer of knowledge, you're picking up the ability to cast once a day, Change Self.
All right.
That's going to cost you a single star to achieve.
From which,
The Trident.
from the Trident, of
Mhm.
course. And how many stars are on the Trident?
5.
5.
Okay. So I've used 2 of the 5 out of both sides at this point.
That is correct.
Okay.
If you're satisfied with the knowledge that you've acquired here today, then there's just one more thing I want to be sure to counsel you on before you go.
All right.
You reached out to me seeking power in moments of combat or danger. And I did my best to inform you that the sort of power I offer is different from the sort that some of your associates wield.
I
Slappy,
remember.
showy power in combat. I want to be really clear about something, though, so you understand what real power is and the depths of the power you possess. I want you to think on this. If you have the ability to take the form of any person or being, near and dear to the heart of any other person or being, such that that individual would not be able to in any way detect that you are not the original entity that you were, whose form you were assuming, would you not have the ability to get them to do anything you wanted them to do for your behalf, on your behalf? Or, if for some reason you needed to, slip a blade between their ribs in the middle of the night while they were completely defenseless, rather than have to fight them on a battlefield and risk your own life? That's power.
I see. I understand.
Good. It's important that you know your strength.
You have one last question.
Yes.
While I'm not intent on doing that right now, would making slight alterations to this also cost the power of the mark?
No. As long as you remain in essence what you are, slight alterations to that are easy enough to achieve. You will only be able to do them with my assistance at first, however.
All right. That's all.
No changes this night?
Not tonight.
Very good then. I will see you again soon.
I'm sure of it.
All right. And you shall awake, all of you, in your somewhat uncomfortable mushroom bunk beds, and we will take our first break.
All right. Don't go away. We'll be back soon. And we're back. Welcome back. Let's see how the training has worked out and how Chris has managed to complicate our lives again. Take it away, Chris.
I'll do what I can. Thank you very much, Eric. All right. So you're actually asleep for a blessed period of time, and then you're not, because you'll wake up in the morning. You're underground, so it's really hard to tell what time of day you're now operating in, but you're feeling rested. Joel, you'll discover that you're not a dwarf anymore. So I guess he was right. Okay, you're tall. You're much, much taller than you were just a short while ago, and your pants they're fitting.
Suddenly I have no clothes that fit anymore.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, you're a community worth of people. I'm sure there's somebody tall hereabouts. That will require probably some sort of explanation from the locals at some point in time.
I'm assuming that as an elf, I instinctively knew how to trance, or how does that work?
You are actually like sleeping. You've been so far sleeping. You haven't done the reverie. Whatever on that. Like maybe you need to talk to an elf. Hey, hook me up with this reverie business.
The real Fox at Twilight experience.
Yes, there you go. Exactly right. But
not,
so far,
not reverie.
Sleeping normally. Okay, so you have probably a few minutes before your hosts discover that you're all awake, and you've just had an interesting experience. Is there anything you need to communicate with one another before there's a knock on the door?
Well, I had an interesting conversation.
Is this being done via the touching?
If necessary, I can have that conversation via the telepathic touch.
Well, I mean,
if you say conversation, I'm going to say like, hey, so we should go in the group chat.
Group chat.
Okay. All right. You're in the group chat.
So I definitely don't trust my voice now. After that,
yes.
Well, it appeared to me as Twilight, because of course it did.
Okay.
Of course it did.
And was advocating for, let's just say, some heavy manipulation that I'm not terribly pleased about.
Of us or
of her?
Oh.
Yeah. Using the powers that it's given me to get what I want. Which is I'm not cool with that. I'm not comfortable with that idea. But I did learn something new. Once per day, I can now temporarily alter my shape.
Right.
Kind of like change self.
Okay. That's
the power that changed me into an elf, that is complete. It's not I'm an elf. I'm all the way through. That apparently, if I want to do that again, will require another power of the mark. It seems to definitely be advocating that if need be, and I run out of those, to get them. I'm guessing it wants me to take them from you somehow, but I don't want to do that either. So I'm gonna be not using that power. Not unless.
So we can not only give them. Your voice implied that you could take them.
I don't know. It was very unclear. She's very cryptic. very reluctant to divulge anything. I got the same answer when I tried to press about who and what she actually is, which was to say she still insists she's an aspect of me combined with the power of the mark. But given her preference for manipulation and subterfuge, I'm not entirely sure that's true. I don't trust it. But that was my experience. But hey, new powers are fun, I guess.
I hope so.
Yes.
And I no. We're all here, Allie, and if you ever feel like, it's all too much or whatever, we'll back
I
you
know.
up. And
I appreciate that. She did seem to indicate that whatever her desires are, it won't require me to betray my friends.
can you just let us know if you ever get to the point where you're going to betray us? Just say, I'm about to betray you, and then betray us, and then
That'd be really helpful. Yeah.
But I trust that you won't. So
Did your voice want anything in particular?
To protect the children.
Okay, so that's the same as Rhiannon's.
The children are our future.
Does it wants to use them for some reason?
I guess.
Well, presumably. But
presumably. But that was my experience. So
is this aspect, I've lost a little bit of the thread of whether this aspect that like you and Rhiannon are experiencing are tied to the marks. Like, are they?
They're claiming to be. Mine is anyway.
So when it says we need to protect the children, in theory, that's part of whatever reason that the marks brought us here for.
I'm guessing
is tied to that.
I'm guessing so.
Well, Rhiannon, your voice claimed to be your intuition, right? So your voice also claimed to be part of you. Or am I misremembering that?
It has some of my knowledge.
Okay.
I mean, mine seems to be tied into desire.
Okay, well, so the mark is a mixture of different deities' magic. And so I'm seeing some kind of like reluctant sort of agreement that they made, that they combine their magic because they all get something out of it. They all have their own sort of goals coming into this. And so then they grab a bunch of people and they're like, we're going to work together. And that brings us here. But then they're each pursuing their own goals. And of course, they don't want the other deities to know that like they're trying to drag us off towards their goal and maybe get us farther from the other one's goal. So of course they don't want us to talk to each other about our marching orders. So like, I mean, I think that you can please some of the people all of the time, or all of the people some of the time. So we're never gonna hit all the goals for all the deities unless we essentially split up, because they're going to be in diametrically opposed directions at some point.
At some point.
Yeah, I feel like we should have code words that we can use out loud that, like, like if we understand what we all agree are sort of our primary, these are the important things. And then when something comes up, we can kind of be like hot or cold in terms of, is this thing going to like take us far away from what we really want to be doing or what's important to us.
Well, it's something we can work out. I think for now we should get our bearings, figure out what the hell the drow are going to do with us, whether they're going to ask us to leave or if we can linger for a bit. I do.
Well, Eric,
ahead.
did you have something with Gedrin that you're supposed to be doing? We were supposed to rescue him. Is there a next step?
You know, we never got around to telling you what happened with that king of Neverwalk.
Yeah, I know.
Westgate.
I'm
That's the
asking for a
thing.
reason.
That's the thing about indefinite quests. What I'm supposed to do with Gedrin is raise him to become a hero, essentially. That's my quest. That's not necessarily our quest.
So we get him as an
No.
apprentice in a castle kitchen
So-
or pig keeper or something like
Maybe.
that.
So,
and set him off.
like, he's what, 6 now, and so like to 18, that's 12 years. You're up for that?
Well, I mean, that'll only put me at 1384, and it's not like the spell plague would have happened yet.
I mean, I plan on
Because
sticking
that's the
around.
priority.
Please clap. All right. So
I plan on sticking around, so it's not like you might have to endure all of that by yourself.
my
I
first
can help.
priority is helping all of you get home who want to get home.
DM
Same.
to player. Eric, do you not remember that conversation, or are you portraying it in a different way?
That's what I wondered.
I thought that's what.
It really was not.
It
We
really
told
was
him to
not.
drop Gedrin on the street because it'll
Toughen him up.
toughen him up.
That's not how I interpreted the conversation.
No. It basically was pretty clear that you were going to need to get him ready for life on the street soon.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, that's what I said.
And you said 13 years, yeah.
That's not gonna take,
No, Rhiannon said 13, 12, 13
so
years.
you've allowed her to-
I
Yeah.
said raise the kid to be ready to be a hero. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be 12 or 13 years.
I got my DM answer. Got it. Moving on.
Okay. So it's left a little vague.
Yep.
I got to leave him in a situation where he's not just going to die and he's going to be prepared for dealing with things.
Fair.
And what
Which
are we
means
doing
that
with
I'm going to have to be cruel and abandon him at some point, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm just letting you know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's. That
Or
was me being
find a-
sarcastic. I'm
Or
sure you
find
all.
a thieves
I just want to make sure.
So bad thieves guild to park him with. You know, we can. There's options.
Right.
I think in the immediate, one thing I'd like to do is see if our hosts will be willing to help us get some other gear. I think
Possibly grow some trees. Yes.
Joel might need some.
Yeah.
new
Can we
pants.
assume that I still had my original clothes in my bag?
You can.
Okay, thank
you
you. So I'm
kept
back
those,
in my
'cause you
street-
never
in
know,
my-
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, regardless, certainly some of us are going to need or try to find the weapons that we just trained
Learn
with.
to use. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Do I
have
have-
Well, yeah.
Do I have the wizard spells that I learned in the thing? Do I have like a single use of it in my mind, and it's just I will need to find a book in order to relearn those?
Yes, pretty much you're going to need to write down your own version of the cliff notes for those spells into that book, and then you're good to go. You've figured out a way. You operating together with your new friend there came up with the specific language and gestures of those spells. You presently have them committed to memory. You just need a book where you can write those notes down. It'll take you about an hour per level per spell, so 5 hours. And then you can just use that to memorize them and memorize them and memorize them
Wow.
over and over again.
If I cast one, do I lose the ability to write it down? Do I need to write them down before I can?
Probably a good idea. Not necessarily unrecoverable, but probably a good idea.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Well, when our hosts get here, I suggest we tell them that Joel was under a curse that was a temporary curse. It's probably the closest thing to the truth.
Yes.
And now
Okay.
and he got better.
Cool.
You're taller.
How do you feel about not being a dwarf, Joel?
I don't know. I was just kind of getting used to it. Yeah. I'll need to think about it. It's
yeah.
out of character. It completely messed up my plan for what I was going to do. But,
Yes, I wouldn't be a DM if I didn't do that.
I mean, we could try to find a way to turn you back if you really want.
I'll need to think about it. So, in the meantime, maybe we should see if our hosts are,
I think so.
Maybe we can get some breakfast at least.
All right,
Oh,
so
If
if
they're
you're
not ready
ready,
for us.
if you're ready for them, they're ready for you. And so there will be a gentle knock upon your door. The kids are all up and feeling hungry and a little bit of energy on Gedrin's case, curious to explore the place because new spot, locked in room overnight means should be fun. And here now you're being greeted by Ilzreen and another female drow. This one clearly a priestess. They're not dressed in armor anymore. They're wearing like simple gowns because they're inside a safe place. They still have their weapons,
Yeah.
but they're inside a safe place, and so they're just dressed normally. You remember I mentioned that whole anime thing? Well,
Mhm.
Ilzreen loves wearing like pretty frilly, like girly gowns. Like the more sophisticated, the better. It's just one of her things. You can blame Ed Greenwood and Stephen Shend for this because I didn't create her. She's their creation. And
So many ruffles.
so she's got so many ruffles, and you're like, what the heck? I saw you in chainmail. What's going on here? But that's super like dressy for just sort of like knocking around the place. But and again, tiny. The other drow lady is probably 5'2", so not a ton bigger than she is, but she's 5'2", 110 pounds, whereas Ilzreen is like 4'10", 85 pounds. And she will introduce this girl, woman, as Layla, Laela, Moonshadow. She is a cleric or priestess of Elistray, and she has silver hair with eyes like moonlit pools, and she moves with reasonable amount of grace as well. Ilzreen will say, Layla will be serving as your guide for the cycle.
Well met, Layla.
Well met. And she'll say, greetings, sister, in Elvish, which you now speak. How about that?
I'll respond, greetings.
And so nobody else here. Well, no, wait. Eric speaks Elvish too.
Dude.
So do you just want to take that in and be like, yeah, I speak Elvish? They don't
No,
know
I don't let on. I'm just
okay,
like,
that's what I thought. I thought you'd be all like crafty about it. Okay. And so you can hear, okay, so this is a little bit strange. Now that the doors are wide open, Gedrin's looking to you, Eric, like, can I go outside? That's not the strange bit. The strange bit is you can hear people laughing in the corridors, like giggling, like not at anyone or anything, but just sort of like somebody somewhere nearby is having a good time. You haven't heard a lot of that since you showed up.
Suspicious.
I do have a simple request, if you'll indulge me.
Certainly.
Many of us, well, I think all of us, only have the one set of clothes.
So you're looking for something simple to wear that befits your... what happened to your friend?
I got
he was
taller.
under a
Growth spurt.
he was under a curse briefly that finally faded.
So you're a human.
I was born a human, yes.
I see. Very well. Well, I think we can find something for you as well. We have quite a number of people here of all sorts of races, so I would be surprised if we can't find something that fits all of you. It'll take us a little time to gather together. Do you have any specific requests?
Well, I think I have the practicality covered. She'll kind of like I'm assuming Amara is dressed in the kind of blouse and like the leggings that she took from Jamal's. Maybe something a little simpler, a dress or a gown.
Easily achieved. Ilzreen will say, if it is all right, I have pressing business. Can I leave you with Layla? Very well. Till swords part, she'll say. That's the warrior greeting. Okay.
Till swords part.
Yep. Off she goes. So you're now out in the hallway. Hey, Randy, The double doors to that place, which are just sort of north and left of here, are open now. And that's where the laughter is coming from.
Oh, that's
You can
caught my
hear
attention too.
Flashing coming from in there. There's like a pool in there.
Ooh.
Like I will
Um,
brighten visibly.
Would you? I'm terribly sorry. Didn't mean to be rude. This first part of the day, communal bathing is very frequent. There are our baths just up this way. Would all of you like a chance to take a dip?
I wouldn't mind.
Okay, well then, please follow me. So, is it
I'm
safe
off.
to say? Is it safe to say the party is trailing behind her as she goes up the hallway and to the left?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting. This was clearly a temple of some kind or another. We talked about that, right? From the doorways and sort of like general layout of the place. And what it is now, it's this gigantic room, like 150 feet long and 60 or 70 feet across, that's subdivided into a couple of different sections. The first section is a converted temple. You know, there's the pillars that you'd expect to see in a temple, and it's laid out the way a general nave would be in a regular sort of cathedral. And the ceiling is, 30 feet high. It looks like some sort of a hospital that they've converted it to, sort of like a place to, oh, yes. Okay, in Elvish, it says halls of healing. Okay, so that's what this first portion of this room appears to be. There are 3 guests, one who's unconscious and wrapped rather heavily head to toe in bandages. So that person's fairly wounded. And then 2 other individuals that are just being treated for injuries. A half-orc, you think, man? And a boy, a human boy, probably 10 years old or something like that, who seems to have broken an arm. The half-orc looks like something happened to his leg, maybe a work injury or something like that, being treated by drow priestesses. Younger-looking drow priestesses, but drow priestesses nonetheless. And there are people coming and going down the main aisle of this room from, wow, way down this room is a, heated bath. That is itself, 80 feet by 80 feet, that just sort of you step down into it and you can see the geothermal heat coming off of the water from the baths, and it looks like it's some kind of communal bath area. Most people are there's a bunch of children in there. There's a dozen children that you can see in that room frolicking and playing in the bath. That's the first time you've seen children not begging on the streets in some time. And they're of a bunch of races. There's dwarves, there's a drow, there's human children, there's a what looks like a gnome child in there. This must be some big, friendly, multicultural community. Oh. There is, Randy, hanging above the door, a symbol to tear.
Okay.
What do you all want to do? Allie, you seem to be headed towards the water.
Yeah.
Okay, so Allie will bounce into the room. Randy, as you enter the room, Jamal will waver into existence next to one of the pillars. Not what I expected, but I sense something here. Tell me what you feel.
Okay. I'll close my eyes and I will feel.
Okay, so you'll cast your sort of senses out into the room broadly.
Yes.
And as you do that, yes, this was at one point in time a source of power. It feels, I guess the closest analogy is, you remember when you used your mark to sanctify or re-sanctify the house, Briar House, which had been breached by the vampires, and then you used a trace of the power to basically imbue the symbol above the door with the sanctity that created a threshold for that house again. This place is a holy place, a place of worship. And there's some trace of Finder in it. Jamal's looking around the room, trying to figure this out for herself, and she'll turn in your direction. What are you feeling? I've got this tingle. It's like my scalp is going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting some sense of Finder, but it feels like maybe something from the past, or I don't know.
Keep your eyes open. Let's see if we
Okay.
can, when we get through this room, find what else is going on in here, because it's strange to me. Why is there that symbol of tear? I don't see how those things are connected. Okay, so that's Randy and Jamal kind of like, quietly talking to each other, taking their time to sort of saunter around the room. Joel?
Gedrin, do you know how to swim?
I mean, a little?
This is probably a good chance. Yeah, this is probably a good educational moment for you. So let's take you over to the baths and teach you how to swim.
All
It's
right,
important skill.
Gedrin will look up at you, Eric, because...
You should go. I nod to him.
Okay. Thank you, Papa. And off he goes, following Joel. Okay, so you're headed in there to see what's going on with the opportunity to try and teach him to swim. Okay, so hold on to that for a second. Rhiannon?
So they clearly don't have the same nudity taboos, but like
No,
I do.
modesty is not a thing around these parts.
So, but
Bad.
also bathing is good. So I'm gonna like try to ditch y'all. Sorry. But
Valid.
like strangers are
reasonable.
different than people that I know. So I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of a recon to see where people like stack their clothes and if there are towels and
There are actually things that function as towels. Basically bits of either cotton or wool, probably not wool because when you get that wet, it's not great linen, that can be used to sort of pat oneself dry, although you'll air dry after that point. But they're in piles that people are reusing. They're not like, I'm using this once and then. Okay. So that's you looking for that.
yeah. And then
Okay.
I need a conversation with this guy.
Your old friend.
But that can wait.
You spend so much time away from. Okay. Eric.
Yep.
What about
Here I
you?
am.
Yep, here I am.
Well, I kind of follow to watch Joel teach Gedrin how to swim. Thinking to myself, Joel is a much better guardian of that kid than I could ever be. Like, yeah, he has actual fatherly instincts, and I do not. So,
Okay. Interesting. Well, that could be based on a real life experience scenario.
Could be.
I mean, that could be some of what you're dealing with there, Okay. So you'll follow in his wake. All right. So you'll all enter the general area of the common baths. There's probably about 24 people here. A dozen of those are children. And speaking of people teaching people to swim, there is a drow girl. I mean, she looks like she's 9 years old to you, but I mean, how old is she? She's probably older than you are. And she's helping teach a boy to swim. He's a dwarf, so he's like 2 feet tall and pretty sort of round and broad. And water and him are not really like, but she's doing her best to sort of like, no. And it's pretty clear that they're getting along in a way that you normally don't necessarily expect to see folks from both of those cultures getting along. So this place is definitely different from a lot of other places in the realms. And so do you want to sort of like come over and be like, hi, there's some swimming training going on. Perhaps we can get in on that.
I mean, so I have the babies probably. I'm assuming. So
Yep.
I might see how they feel about getting in and splashing around and stuff like that.
They're still
And-
sitting up is now a thing they can do.
Yeah.
You can put babies straight into water. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
thing people do.
Yeah.
So you can like get them wet and they'll find that entertaining. They'll find it pretty entertaining that that's the case. Ooh, you notice 2 things, Randy, which I'll get back to you about in just 1 second, but you'll notice both of them when you're in there trying to do that. Joel,
Okay.
what I was asking you was, you were going over to do this Gedrin thing. Are you trying to get in on there's swimming training underway?
Oh, sure. if it seems like the kid, it seems like the elvish girl is a good instructor, maybe I'll just let him make a friend.
Okay.
Because this might be a good place to,
Ditch
leave
him.
people.
Like that.
Potentially.
Okay. So you'll do that. You'll go over and just sort of introduce yourself, and she'll, look up at you. You're a stranger, but she's trusting of strangers. At least here, at least under in the escort of a drow priestess of Elistray. So you're suddenly Gedrum's throwing off clothes and getting in the water.
Cool.
Okay. So Rhiannon, you were getting a big towel-like thing, and?
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to get in. I just am going to get in out of sight.
Gotcha. Okay, so you'll sort of pick the furthest corner and dip down and then just be like, okay, now I'm in the water. Okay, got it. Oh, it is delightful. Allie, I'm assuming you're just, get me into this water.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going for it.
Again, you are breathtakingly attractive. So when you're not wearing clothes, people notice that. So particularly anybody who's sort of hovering around the edges of puberty or whatever, so you're going to get eyes, but I mean, it happens. And so, but you're in the water enjoying it. Randy, you noticed two things.
Yep.
Thing number one, which Jamal seems to have noticed too. There is on the far side of this room, like shattered, like somebody deployed force to attempt to destroy it. So it's hewn in two, but there it is. A black hand, like what was probably an altar at the end of the room, like about the size of a person, like a black hand up from the ground like this. And she will say, Moander. That explains it.
Oh, no.
Do you know what she means? Because if you don't, she's going to explain it to you.
Refresh my memory on my.
I know what it means.
She'll say, yes, I'm sorry.
Isn't that who Finder got the power from?
Exactly. He absorbed the power of the god of rot and decay, Moander. And this place must have been, before the drow came and shattered that altar, a place holy to Moander. So the
and then
power
the drow,
is
like,
in it.
Lolth took over like the bad part of the power, and Finder kept the good parts, right? Isn't that?
I don't know. All I know is that Finder, in order to become a demigod, basically drank in the power of Moander. We didn't get into a lengthy theological discussion about it.
Took on the rot and decay part.
That's not how that happened.
Finder
I'm not there.
took on the renewal part of it. Or kept the renewal part, if I remember.
What I think I'm trying to tell you, though, is that this room contains a fragment of our god's power. This is an ideal place for a shrine, Randy. It's already sanctified.
Okay. If you're saying that I should build a shrine, I'm happy to do so, as long as it's not like
kind of
gets
go
in the
through
way of
matter with my hands.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we go over in the corner here and talk about what is entailed in creating a shrine? I don't want to take up everyone's time on the details of what's
The other thing that you will see is there is a girl in here, like woman, right? She's a teenager, maybe right out of her teens.
Okay.
This is the first adult tiefling you've seen. She's dark red skin, right? But curved horns, tail. She's mostly unclad because this is a bathing chamber, but she too is a little bit modest. So she's, wrapped in a towel. And she's playing with some of the children. She's kind of like serving as a big sister in a big sisterly like role to those children. And like I said, the first adult tiefling you've seen.
Okay. Well, I will I'm kind of my hands are under the bellies of the babies or whatever, just kind of let them splash around. So I'll just kind of wander in her direction.
When she sees you seeing her, her eyes will brighten a bit. Roll a 20-sided die.
Okay. 6.
Okay. So that was a few things cycling through, right? First it was surprise, like, oh, there are tieflings here. The second it was like a little bit of excitement, but then slamming down on that was like pain, like sadness. So those all just sort of came right across her gaze at once, and she'll like look away from you so she's not perceived to be looking right at you, right? Like she was looking at you, she realized she was looking at you, and so she sort of like looked away. You're headed to her, or you're headed near her?
I'll head near her. And
Okay.
I'll hum Brimstone Angels Go Go Go. I'll hit her and I'll just be playing with the babies. And is there a I don't know, a child that's like 8, 9, 10-ish?
Yeah.
And that she's
Drow boy.
A drow boy. Okay, cool. I'll say, hello, lad.
And he'll look up at you. Hello. Oh, now everyone's seeing babies. People love babies. They all want to touch the babies. Do you have any problem with people with a bunch of children coming over and mobbing your babies?
No.
Okay.
Be gentle. They're babies, but
so
you'll
see a degree of cooing going back and forth between them, and she'll finally lock eyes with you. She'll give you a nod.
I'll give her a nod back. And I'll say, and I'll continue to talk to the boy, and I'll say, wow, there's just such a variety of people here. I can tell this is a real place of healing. I imagine a lot of people come here who've had a really, really hard time. I know.
When people are injured, the priests and priestesses heal them here.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We
so
all
it's kind of a
bathe
sanctuary.
Here as well. Yes, this whole place is a sanctuary.
Well, it is wonderful to feel safe. And
are you new here at the Promenade?
Yeah. We too have faced a lot of struggles and troubles, but very relieved to be here and
now you've got a
sanctuary.
Bunch of children interested in you. Are you an adventurer? That's a dwarven boy.
Adventures happen to me, but I don't know that I would say I'm an adventurer.
What do you do? Are you a wizard?
No, actually, I'm an entertainer. Have you ever heard of?
Are you a bard?
A bit of a bard.
Do you sing? Do you dance? Do you tell stories? Do you do all those things?
Yes, and yes.
Tell us a story.
Okay. I will commence to tell them a story.
Insert story here.
Insert story here. As a writer,
about,
I would
Randy?
bracket this and say insert story here, and I will come back later
Tell them a story
and
about
write
a
an
young
amazing
necromancer
story.
We'll fix it
getting
in
out of
post.
jail.
Yeah,
because we're approaching the end of the evening, I'm not going to make you tell me that story in real time, but normally I totally would. But you're going to have to at least tell me what the story is about.
Oh, okay.
If it looks like you're struggling, Jamal will jump in and help you out.
I would tell a maybe a summarized version, a not quite real version of based off of kind of Brimstone Angels, about sisters who lose everything and go off and face struggles, but in the end, through perseverance and finding their own strength and finding their identity, persevere and triumph and something along those lines. Like I try to tell like a story that's hopeful and like that empathizes with people who have had a lot of loss and a lot of struggle, but that there's hope in the world, and that finding new family is a wonderful thing to do. Forming a new family around yourself.
Is this story about tiefling girls?
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay. So you'll notice that the attention of the tiefling, who has yet to give you her name, is on you as you tell this story. And you can tell she's sort of advanced for her age, in the sense of she's seen danger and difficulty. And so she knows enough to be wary in a way that the children around her do not. And so you think she suspects that you might be telling this story because you're trying to tell it directly to her.
Oh no. I was mostly telling it because, the Dragon Blood character and it is so like hilarious
Could
and
very
so
well be the
lovable.
case.
Gruff and lovable.
Gruff and lovable. I understand.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to keep you busy for a little while. So you'll be at that for a bit.
Okay.
Joel, you'll notice that Gedron's taking pretty well to these other kids. The whole bring him around some children was a good idea. He hasn't really been happy in a bit, and this is making him happy. He's having fun, splashing around in the water. He's bonding with children around his own age. He's sort of rough and tumble and a little bit sort of precocious for his age, in that he's brave and strong. But he's acting like a child. He's actually having a good time. And they're taking well to him. These people are very welcoming, right? And so that's going to keep you busy for a little while. Rhiannon, you're enjoying a nice, warm bath. Did you have some chatting to do?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do this.
And so excited about it, too.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk terms.
Terms? What kind of terms?
Terms. You want something, I want something.
Oh, so we're negotiating now.
Yes.
Very well. What is it that you want?
To go home. Is that something you can give me?
It's something I could teach you in time. Why, again, do you want to do that?
That's not an issue. Can you teach me?
Yes, I can teach you. Again, it will take you some time. The minimum spell level that you would need at your disposal to even begin to attempt that would be the 7th circle. You're much more likely to be successful with the 9th.
Okay. Do you have knowledge of somebody else who could do it for us?
Oh, I have knowledge of a great number of archmages, if that's what you're asking me. Although you're going to need to individually negotiate with them if you're going to show up at their doorstep asking to be transported across worlds.
Do you know of Chris the Grey?
Who?
Oh, dang. Okay.
Is he someone I should know?
I'm not sure. He's known in our world. Question is he known here? Apparently not.
Not to me. Obviously not to you either. At least not before you came here.
Eric knows him. Elric,
Eric.
whatever.
Elric. That's delightful. Well, if he's someone that Elric suggests you should talk to, I can give you some very good advice about what you should be doing instead.
All right. And you're wanting the tiefling babies to be safe, correct?
I am wanting the tiefling babies to be kept away from the woman who is seeking them, or who will seek them as soon as she becomes aware of what happened to her daughter.
Okay. Because, see, cards on the table time. It's very clear we're going to be pulled in a lot of different directions. A lot of different goals. And it's all very well to say priorities, but if I can arrange my goal without hurting others, I don't need to wait for the others to sort of come around and finish everything that they were going to do to get to mine. So I want to get home, and I don't want to be waiting around for it. And
Realize something. First something is this. You cannot protect them from her unless you destroy her before you leave, once you've left. And the second thing is this. Once you return to your world, you will be bereft of any and all of the power you have acquired here. You will return to the life you had before you woke up in this world. Now, perhaps you really loved that life, and you don't mind having lost the power to do magic, but you'll remember it, you'll remember the loss every day for the rest of your life.
Why do you care? You want a pawn who stays here as opposed to leaving.
You're not just a pawn to me, Rhiannon. You and I are of a kind, and I'm your custodian.
So you're another sorcerer.
I, too, understand the power of fire, which is why I'm able to teach it to you. I am something more than a mere sorcerer.
A devil.
I'm something more than a mere devil, Rhiannon.
This is me thinking hard. So am I actually talking to Asmodeus?
You're talking to a portion of who you are, and you are talking to an agent of Asmodeus. You are talking to your own sin, Rhiannon. Do you know what that sin is?
Well, why don't you tell me?
I can't tell you until you're ready to understand it, Rhiannon. You have to admit it to yourself. I will tell you one thing, though. Do you see these people around us?
Mm.
They're basking in their false sanctuary, blind to the shadows that gather beneath their feet, blind to the inevitable. This monument to their pride will be their tomb, for this place sits on a shaft, a pit that leads to the abyss. And it is only a short matter of time before that thing that they think they've sealed up in it comes boiling out, and everyone and everything in this place, men, women, and children, will die, consumed by it. That's knowledge, Rhiannon, and now you share it with me. Consider it a gift.
Gee, thanks. Sin. If you say ambition, I will say you are frickin' lying, man.
If I say what?
Ambition.
Is that one of the 7 sins, Rhiannon?
Oh, okay. So that's the list we're going from.
The list everyone's going from.
I can't reel them off. It's not sloth.
No, never sloth for my Zephyr. Did you catch that?
For
I
what?
said never sloth for my Zephyr.
Huh, okay. I don't immediately react because I need to think about that for a bit, but well, I mean, I guess we're no farther ahead, are we? I'm not any closer to getting home, and you have added another obstacle to that, vis-a-vis trying to help these people, because the moment I say that they're in danger, that becomes our next priority.
I'm just trying to tell you shouldn't tarry here over long. I don't care what happens to these people. They've made their choices. They've decided to build a life to raise their children on a nest of vipers. That's you cutting off the whatchamabouts.
Yep.
And that is where we will end our session for tonight.
Oh, what a gift that was.
Oh boy.
Well, I have been Scott the Bee playing Elric Thalavar in the Isekai realms. It's getting real, and I'm sure it will continue to get real. Join our Discord where the adventure continues. We got more stories there. We talk about the game. We got other games that we run on this channel. We talk about those. There's some fiction there, a lot of art, a lot of silly memes that I share mostly. Anyway, it's great. So highly recommended. Take it away, Allie.
Hi, everybody. I am Alexander Pitchford, a writer, TTRPG streamer. I keep getting hung up on those letters. And a game designer. And yeah, I've got a Patreon at patreon.com/Alexander Pitchford. I've got a couple of the early chapters of my Dracula novel that I'm writing up on there. So do go check that out if you want. It's literally like the lowest tier is $1 a month. It's like what are you waiting for? Go, 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 go. I'm kidding. Anyway, that's all.
She's
from
not
me.
kidding. Go to her Patreon. Anyway, go ahead.
I've been Rhiannon Held. Check out my books. The Silver series under Rhiannon Held, Anthropological Werewolves. The Amsterdam Institute series starting with Clean Install under RZ Held. Space opera and novellas, so a little bite-sized try of my style of writing if you like it. It's got snarky AI and self-identity in the face of technology and lots of adventure and all kinds of good stuff. And thank you tonight to whoever is moderating in the chat.
Hello, everybody. I've been Joel Everett, and I really wish I knew what that tiefling's name was. That's going to bother me until we record next. Over to you, Randy.
Hi, been Cumberbatch Bottom Little as Randy Henderson, and hopefully he'll be back for the next episode. And thank you all so much for joining us on this journey.
And I am Chris, aka some Chris the Gray guy who's important somewhere, I don't know. And also your resident Diabolist. It has been a pleasure playing with you this evening, and I look forward to our next exciting adventure. Eric?
Resident Diabolist. Maybe we shouldn't be looking for this Chris the Gray guy. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.